Welcome to the first episode of Future Built. We hope this week's episode will help educate, empower, and elevate how you Bluebeam. I'm Ryan, and I'm excited to be kicking off our Bigger Than Software series, where we'll talk all things AEC. Today, we're discussing how to get started in the industry. But first, we're going to start with a segment we're calling With a Little Help from Bluebeam. Check out this video to hear from one of our customers.
My name is Maria White. I'm a senior graduating in August with a major in construction and engineering. When working with the real estate development company, it was growing very rapidly. And when I got hired, a project manager also got hired. So it was them two doing all the traveling, me kind of holding down the fort. And so with that, obviously, there was a lot of collaboration that was being needed, but it wasn't an in-person collaboration. With the way we were doing pay applications is he would email me, I'd print them, everything was hard copy, and then carry this massive file of pay applications. That was not efficient, so we had to find a solution, and I was like, well, why don't we use Bluebeam? We created his signature on there, and everything was just very easily accessed from anyone. Even though I was an intern, it left a lasting image and impact on the way that the company runs things now when it comes to pay applications.
I'm joined today by Stephanie Reichman, who's a professional civil engineer and customer success manager here at Bluebeam, and Luke Prescott, who's the head of our design and product team. And we're going to be discussing how to make your markup in the AEC industry. So let's get into it. I know both of you have had illustrious careers in the AEC industry, but we want to take it all the way back to the beginning. And I want to hear a little bit about how you got started in the AEC industry, and then we could take a look at some of the ways that Bluebeam is helping other people who are getting started in the AEC industry. So Stephanie, let's start with you. Let's take it away.
Sure. I feel like many people maybe start with the same origin story of building Legos or IKEA furniture with their parents. That was certainly my life growing up. And so I thought civil engineering just made a ton of sense as a 15-year-old that didn't really know what was going on. Somehow stuck around through that degree and got another one, because when you don't know what to do with your life, you should definitely get a master's.
You start accumulating those pieces of paper over time.
Yes. Just make a nice little tower for yourself. It's good wall art as well. And so did all the educational stuff. Eventually did some project management for an engineering firm. Didn't really love it and decided that I really wanted to work in construction. That had always been my dream, was doing construction project management. I didn't do that. That would have made too much sense.
Right.
But I went into virtual design and construction, worked for a general contractor for a few years. Actually did a lot of work introducing aspects of Bluebeam to the company. So when I decided to look for something else, make a little transition, the opportunity came to join Bluebeam as a customer success manager. It's been fantastic, really cool to be on this side of things, but that's super high level story of how I got here.
Well, we're very lucky to have you. You're a true asset to Bluebeam, and we're glad that that's where life, the path of life led you that way. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that with us. And absolutely. Luke, what about yourself? How did you get into where you are now?
Pretty quickly after college, I needed a job. So I got hired on a crew swinging a hammer, and I fell in love with it. It was great. It was fun. I knew nothing about construction management at the time. It was just, you're just building. And then eventually I got hired on at a commercial subcontractor where I kind of, my eyes were open to the world of documentation and submittals and RFIs, and I actually really enjoyed that side of it. It was really fun, and that's where I was exposed to Bluebeam. Yeah. And I used it fairly early on, and I just figured this was sort of standard how everybody worked. When you work in your local market, you don't really have exposure to what's happening, and this is back in the mid-aughts, I guess. And then eventually I attended one of the Bluebeam user conferences and said, "This is cool. I love this. Let's make a deal of this." So it's been a great number of years, probably 15, 16 years at this point, but been really happy to be part of the Bluebeam family, and keep bringing the tools and fun to the market.
Do you think that there are any specific trades or anything like that are particularly well suited to working with Bluebeam or learning? If you're starting out early, where do you see people having the most interaction with, like software related to the AEC industry or something along those lines?
Yeah, Stephanie, I'd be curious to hear your take. I would, when I think about new people coming into the workforce, even outside of specific trades, the number one thing I would think is to build relationships and make friends, build relationships, do great work, have integrity, be honest, and stick with it. I mean, it's a long haul, and along the way, pick up some skills, right? So like, sure, you're probably on a machine using like Bluebeam Review is not your own, but the skills you're learning are. And those are skills that you'll be able to take no matter where you go. And you can apply those in different aspects, meaning that you could work at a drywall contractor, learn a bunch of really great skills in Review, and be of value to an engineering firm by being able to take some of that with it. And we've actually known people to do those kinds of jumps where they basically use their knowledge of software and technology as the common thread. But it's not just software and technology, it's understanding, okay, how do you take tech and apply it to the weird patterns and language and world that is design, engineering, and construction.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly really cool to see those different skills accumulate throughout your career, but I think especially when you're given tasks throughout your career, you can just do the task, or you can really take it as an opportunity. I was actually in preparation for today thinking about my own experience in general contracting, being given tasks that I didn't enjoy, one of which was estimating, and I apologize to the estimators out there. It just wasn't for me. But I would often get little estimates to do in between jobs. And I would usually get I was given doors one time, do a door takeoff. And I remember thinking, I really don't want to print out these drawings and start counting each door. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I discovered one of my favorite features, which is visual search. And I loved it. Like the idea of suddenly I could do these takeoffs that would take an estimator a couple hours, would take me 20 minutes. And it was such a great, really early lesson for myself that you can take a situation that maybe you're not really excited about, but to your point, Luke, of like really building that skill for yourself, so you can then take that. And eventually, I think I told that story in my interview because it was just like such a cool, fun story. Like I didn't want to do it. I learned something new, and now it's one of those skills I'll have forever. Yeah, I'll say that when a new person joins a company, they're so often focused on, you're the lowest person on the totem pole, or you don't have the experience. I really disagree with it, just because you offer such a different perspective, because you're not, or you haven't been exposed to that daily life of working at that particular company. And so when you join a new company, or, a new role, whatever the situation might be, you offer such a fresh perspective that you really just have to lean into, just so and that in turn allows you to develop a new set of skills once you kind of feel comfortable enough to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Let me ask you both this question. If you were somebody that was just coming out of school or trade school or something like that, are there any programs or anything like that Bluebeam is involved with that might help you get started in the AEC industry? And if so, what are they?
Do you want to start this one off?
Sure. Yeah. So first thing I would recommend is up-leveling your skills, not just in terms of the technology, but what are the big problems to be solved within your local market, your trade, craft, the problems that your company is attempting to solve. So I would say just become an expert in that. Think local in that sense. And then from there, layer technology on top of that. So that's where you're doing things like Bluebeam Community Program. You're going to like Bluebeam conferences, Bluebeam user groups, ways of learning these small skills, functions, features, whatever it might be that might have outsized impact for your particular team that you're working on. And a lot of times, most of our customers, they're not trying to be the best in the world or the best in the country at a given thing. They're just trying to be better than their competition. And so they're trying to learn what are those things that give me a competitive edge, the things that are going to shave off a little bit of time here and there to get better at. So I think identifying what those are and looking for those inefficiencies and then finding tools that solve for that, I think that's probably one of the best opportunities. And I think to Stephanie's point, like having fresh blood in the industry that is looking at problems in a new light is I think what helps sort of move the entire industry forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great said. Nothing to add, no notes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What about it? Bluebeam has like an educational program,
the Bluebeam
right?
University,
right? Bluebeam, yeah. So like it's like
Yeah.
if you were somebody who was a young person, that's another option for you to take advantage of. And I think you mentioned the community and places like that people could be reviewing for that sort of thing. I guess something that occurred to me while you guys were both talking is also this kind of concept of being flexible. You know, like both of you sort of started in one place and you're kind of in a much different place than you were before. I guess I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. Like you made choices to move from place to place. Yeah. What was that like for you, and how do you feel that helped you turn into the person that you are today, or like become the person that you are? Like,
yeah. It's a very loaded question.
Sorry, I didn't mean. I mean, whatever you're comfortable talking about. But I mean,
no. I think it's such an important conversation because when I was in school, the conversation really was either you go into design or you go into construction. Mm-hmm. And a few years into my career, I had done both and didn't like either, and kind of felt so lost and confused with how did I just invest all this time, this money, this just my whole sense of self into something that I don't even want to do anymore. And I think that felt so disorienting when I got to that point. And so I think the conversation needs to be a little bit wider in terms of like, what can you do within AEC? Because it is a challenging industry, but there's so many different takes on it. And for example, the trades is a really great example. There's technology companies that are also looking for people with that experience as well. So I think it's first and foremost coming to terms with the fact that you can also step away from what you thought was the traditional route for your degree or your experience and kind of reorganizing it into something that feels better for whatever point in your life that you're at.
Sort of giving yourself the room to grow or to allow yourself, the opportunity to grow if you feel that it's going to be beneficial for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think especially as engineers, we're so risk averse. You've committed, this is stable, this is all our parents said that you're going to get a stable job and it's going to be good and a solid paycheck, and you can still get so many of those things, but making sure that it's still aligned to who you are, your own core values, and allowing those to shift as you grow and change and evolve.
Yeah. And that really helps you get to know yourself in a way, when you make those decisions. Absolutely. What about you, Luke? Anything else?
I mean, when I think about sort of the next generation coming into the industry, I think the first thing I'd want to say is you're in the right place. Like this is like, there is no, I want to say cooler. There's no cooler industry or set of people to build what is being built next. There's this weird myth of sort of construction and the world being sort of slow to adopt technology. I mean, the reality is we have some of the most advanced technologists that are using technology to do incredible things. And we have tried and true building practices that have gone through centuries of sort of fine tuning in a way. So what we as an industry are able to produce on a consistent basis is really quite amazing. And to be part of that, I mean, personally, I feel very lucky. So anyone who's sort of kind of thinking about, what this is the right industry for me, or this is something I want to do, there's so many opportunities. Even if you look at how many of the lines are so blurred between the types of delivery that various organizations will produce. Some of the biggest organizations also own a ton of real estate, and they do their own design, and they have their own self-performed contract division. So there's a lot of different ways, or specializing in a particular trade or craft that goes into that. And when in construction is this sort of weird general term, but I mean, it's everywhere from, critical infrastructure to heavy civil to the sciences and laboratories and data centers and all kinds of interesting, and then of course the maybe the stuff that we see a little bit more frequently in terms of the projects that might happen down the road, your local library getting built or a new school getting built. All that to say, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of really creative people building and designing some really great stuff. So I think it's exciting, and I would certainly encourage anyone kind of like trying to suss out where they feel is a spot to be. There's a lot happening here.
All right, it's time for Future Built to get a little spicy. We're going to have a new segment that we're calling Mean Tweets. Luke, I hope you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
We've got a bunch of tweets and Facebook comments pulled in from some of Bluebeam's customers, and they are a bunch of spicy meatballs.
Great.
And we're
I'm
gonna
hungry.
we're going to see. Yeah, you're going to eat well tonight, I'll tell you that much. So we're going to get started here with a little comment that came into us from X, the Everything app, from Torque Marks. Torque Marks had this to say. Bluebeam makes some real terrible software.
Painful.
Right, yeah. Maybe hire one actual contractor to answer questions like, should software often used in the middle of nowhere require constant internet for DRM?
I like that he's actually giving us the questions to ask. I appreciate that.
true, yeah.
That's a good one.
Right.
I'm guessing that Mr. Marks is a little frustrated with the subscription model and that it's got to ping the licensing system to make that handshake to make sure it's still good. So I understand that, but
Careful.
You're
getting worked up over
I'm getting
here.
worked up, getting excited
All
about
right.
this. But I am happy to share, we did just ship Review Offline. So he can now go 365 days without internet connectivity.
my.
That problem is solved.
So you're telling me that you already had a solution for this
Softball.
process
This
right
is
out
a
of your question?
softball.
This is ridiculous. this whole segment is rigged. I'm already calling it right now. All right,
They're not going to be that easy.
Okay, well, I hope not. Let's see. We're going to get you on this next one, I think. All right. Coming into us from Instagram, we got this one from Suits and Science, who says this: Bluebeam is awful. 0 out of 10.
Just 0.
Yeah.
We can't get a 1, not a 2.
Not a 1, not a
No,
2, you
0.
know?
All right. Bluebeam is awful. I don't know what to say.
This guy's coming in with both barrels. You can't really have much of a response to this, and he doesn't really give us any context, anything we can work on.
Yep.
I give this tweet a 0 out of 10 for helpfulness. You know, I get that he's trying to be critical, but I can't work with this. You know, what does he expect? I'm trying to make a YouTube video here.
Yeah. I'll say, I think the silver lining is, I'm guessing he doesn't want it to be awful. Right?
Well, I guess that's a good
There we
point.
go.
You know, he's seeing that there's a potential for it to get better. So.
There's not much to work with. Not much to work with on this one.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one is also coming in from Instagram. This one is coming in hot from Papa Hailstorm. He says, why is it so hard to use your product nowadays? Renewal of subscription is a pain. And your product is still great, but your customer service is awful.
So, Daddy Hailstorm is absolutely correct. Renewal of subscription is an absolute pain. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the greatest aspect of working with
but
Bluebeam.
we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
We're actively working on it. We want to solve that whole problem. In fact, we want to make it so easy to renew that it just happens.
Well, that would be a dream.
You would just think.
Well, listen, I tell you what, Papa Hailstrom, we're going to make some changes, you know. Come back to us and let us know if we've gone from awful to just okay or something like that. That's what we're looking for, you know. Oh boy, here we go. I can't believe they let this one slip in. So this is a real sticky wicket. This is something we hear constantly from a small group of very passionate Bluebeam users, and that is our Bluebeam Mac users. Now, Luke, I'm sure you're aware that we used to have a version of Review that came out for Mac.
We
that
did.
Has been sunsetted, as they say in the tech industry. And Brian Starkey, I'm going to assume, was a user of this product because he went on a Facebook to angrily tweet, "You need to make it for Macs again with full usability. Why is this so hard?"
It's a great question. Yeah. So when we did sunset Mac, we then did choose to invest heavily into our web app and our mobile apps. So what we're doing is we're bringing the best parts of Bluebeam technology, tool chest, markups list, access to local files, sessions, projects offline mode. We're bringing that to our mobile apps for offline specifically, and then local file markup to our web app. So lots of things are happening there. We're making good progress. Again, that's not a Mac app. So I want to call that out.
Yeah.
It's not what
thank you.
Our friend here is looking for.
I think Brian would appreciate that.
Totally. Fair enough. We don't have plans for Mac app on the near horizon. But we're making a bunch of investment in our web app, and we hope that a lot of our users, regardless of what platform they're on, they'll be able to access the best parts of Bluebeam tech there.
Wow. Well, Luke, I got to say, these guys came in hot with 4 spicy meatballs, and you just ate every single one of them. No problem. You're asking for more.
Let's do this again.
We will be doing this again. It's a good thing you got that attitude, because we're going to be back with more mean tweets in the future. So keep an eye out here and keep them coming, I guess. We'd love to hear it. Thank you for watching the first episode of Future Build. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and learn more about our in-person global conference at unbound.bluebeam.com. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know at community.bluebeam.com. We'll see you next time.